the legislature. And so I'm just going to take this. One thing like you can do is if you make a selection correctly on a website, you can actually cut and paste it pretty easily into your spreadsheet. So the key for like tables like this is to get the whole table. So if I just select all of this, I can copy that and I can go over to my spreadsheet and paste it in. So can you guys see that? I don't know if you're able to see that or not.
You can see that, but maybe you could slow down to make the students could follow you. Okay? 大家就照着做吧，谢谢。反正我不能跟上。Okay.
So just let me know if I'm going too fast. I can slow down. Okay. So here it is. Here's a spreadsheet, and one of the things I want to show you. So the first one is locking the rows and splitting the screen. So if you look. Right now, if I scroll up and down on the screen, I lose track of what the columns are. And so one of the things that you'll want to do, especially when you start working with data that has like a lot of rows, is that you want to keep the header row on the top, showing all the time. So in the Google spreadsheet, you can do that by going to the View menu. So if you watch, I go to the View menu and click on View. And then you see the freeze rows option. And then I'll go to freeze one row. And what that will do is it will freeze this top row here, so that now when I scroll up and down the data, it stays in place. So it's extremely useful when you get lots of rows of data. This is not so many rows, but the more you work with data, the more data you will have that will be many, or hundreds or thousands of rows, and you'll definitely want to like freeze the top row. And the same thing goes for, you can also freeze the columns too. So as I scroll to the right, let's say I want to keep the first two columns frozen. So I'll go to View, freeze columns, and then freeze the first two columns. So. Caroline, can you tell me how do people understand that so far? Am I going too fast or about right speed? Or
他觉得会不会太快太慢，还是刚刚好 ？Exactly the speed we want. Thank you.
Okay, that sounds great. So let's go back to my list. So that's number one. So number two is formatting cells. So one of the things that you want to do is take a look at how the numbers are formatted. So, oftentimes when you look at numbers, it can be very noisy to see too many decimal places. So here, for example, we have the turnout for each election, and in column E, and the truth, I don't only need to see the first two numbers, so 77%. I don't need to see 77.13 because the 0.13 is so small that all I really want to see is the 77. And if I can just reduce this so it's only looking at the first two numbers, it will make it easier for me to quickly look at the column and figure out what was a big turnout, what was a low turnout. So I'm going to click on column E. I'm going to go to the Format menu and go to the Number option. And under percent, let's see, I'll go to More Formats and then choose the Custom Number Format. I don't want to have so many decimal places. So as you scroll through all these formats, you can see there's lots of different options. So here's one that is just a zero, with just a percent without any decimal places. So if I click on this one and apply it, you'll notice now all these numbers are much easier to read. And they're as meaningful as we need them to be for our understanding of what the numbers are. Now, if you look at the value, so if I click on E2, if you look up in the top in the formula bar, you can see the actual number that's stored in the spreadsheet is actually the number with all the decimal places. So you're not losing any information when you format it. You're just like showing the number in a more easy to understand way. But the full data is actually still stored in the spreadsheet for you, which is an important thing to recognize. So even though it says 77, it's actually the spreadsheet still will think about it as 77.13 when it's doing calculations. So let's say also, like I want to change how the number is formatted so that it shows the year and then the month and then the day. So let's click on column B and then go to format, and then I'll go to number and then date. I'm sorry, I'll go to more formats. I'm going to just choose a custom number format. And hopefully that date will be in there. Oh, you know, it's not in here. So close this out. We'll try going to format, number, more formats, more date and time formats. Here, and then we'll choose one where it puts a year first. So actually we'll do year, month, and day. Yeah, this is good. So now let's switch to year, month, and day. So I think let's take a few minutes here, and I want you all to do exactly the same thing that I just did, and I'll do it again together. But I want you to open up just a blank Google spreadsheet for yourself, and we'll get the data from the website and do it. So, Caroline, do you want to make sure that is everyone ready to do it?
大家都有操作嘛，哈，是不是都操作过一遍了？有没有还没有完成的？举个手好吗？没有关系，不用开始收语，我们会等你。OK， 好，那Archie, everyone has repeat their action on their computer already. So,
already, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Good. Then okay, then we'll continue. Okay. So that's for formatting cells. So one of the things that you'll notice, let's go back. Let's create a new sheet here. So I'll click on Add Sheet. And I want you just to kind of experiment with putting numbers in. So I'm going to put a number in, like that's 90, 198. And if you look when I type in the number, it automatically formats so it's aligned to the right side of the cell here. And let's type in a word. So here, let's call it cars. And if you notice, when I type in the word, like text, it automatically formats it to the left side of the cell. And then if I format, let's try formatting it. Let's say putting a date in. So let's put in today's date 9/22/2014. So if you notice that the date is aligned along the right side. So when you're entering in data into a spreadsheet yourself, one thing is good to notice is how the spreadsheet automatically formats the number, or the text, because it kind of helps you to look for errors when you're typing and stuff. So if you are typing in a number and you accidentally type a character in, oops. So if I accidentally type a number in, a letter in there, and I don't realize it, then you can see by the formatting of this thing that something is not right, that it's not reading it as a number. So I can go back and look and say, I typed in an L instead of a 1. If I put a 1 in there, then it'll automatically format it to the right side. So that's one thing to kind of pay attention to when you're entering in things. Like if you notice that your numbers are ending up on the left side, then it's something maybe you want to double check to make sure you didn't do something incorrectly. So I'll go back. So that's formatting cells. Okay, so one of the other like really interesting things to think about is how does a spreadsheet handle numbers? Oops. So let's do something kind of fun. So let's delete this. So if I take this cell here, if I type equals, and I click on the cell with the date, today's date in it, and I say +1. You look what happens. It says 9/23/2014. So it's actually the next day. So if I let's say I'll add take this cell and I add 7 to it. So what do you see happens here? It's adds 7 days to the previous date. So that's one clue to you already to how a spreadsheet handles dates. So the way a spreadsheet thinks about a date is that every day is a number, and one day is equal to 1. And so I want to figure out what the numbers are. So let's take a look at this this September 29th, 2014. What does that day mean? So if I go to format number and I just go to and choose number, you notice that September 29th is actually the number 41,911. So that number means this date. You guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that number equals that date. So let's take a look at see what the number 0 means. So if I put 0 in here, and I go to let's do this. Let's show the 0, and then we're gonna say that D5 is equal to D4. So, but instead of formatting D5 like a number, I'm going to format D5 like a date. So I'm going to number and then date. So if you look at 0, the number 0 is actually December 30th, 1899. So let's look at the number 1 and see what that equals. So the number 1 is actually December 31st, 1899, and the number, let's see, 10 or 2. So the number 2 is equal to January 1st, 1900. So it's kind of an interesting thing to think about. The numbers in the spreadsheet are actually, dates in the spreadsheet are actually just numbers, and times are actually just fractions of numbers. So you can actually get, if I format column D as a date and a time. So 2 is equal to January 1st, 1900 at midnight. But if I go 2.5, that would be January 1st, 1900 at noon. And if I go to 2.75, it would be January 1st, 1900 at 6 p.m. So it's just kind of a good way, good to know that that your spreadsheet is thinking of your dates as numbers, and you can do math on them. So you can actually figure out how many days. So if the class is ending on December 31st of this year, and today was the first day, or let's say today is the first day of class of 9/22/2014. I can figure out how many days. If I go equals the last date minus this date, there are 100 days between December 31st and today. That's pretty interesting. Okay. So did that make sense to everybody?
需要再操作一次吗？需要再操作一次举个手。好。Would you repeat again for all of us? Repeat about the number, the date.
Okay. So I think one of the really important things to think about or to understand when you're dealing with dates in a spreadsheet is that dates are just numbers in the spreadsheet. So let's just scroll down on our spreadsheet a little bit, and let's put in today's date. So 9/22/2014. That's today's date. So I'm going to type in the next cell down. I'm going to type equals, and I'm going to click on the cell right above A11. And so if you look, the A12 is equal to A11. So this is telling you that it's the same date. So it's good. But I want to format A12 to be as a number instead of as a date. So if I go to format number, and then I say date, format number, and then go to number, it shows you that the day September 22nd, 2014 is actually stored in the spreadsheet as the number 41,904. So your spreadsheet is thinking of your date as a number. And so you can use this to your advantage, because then you can if you need to do math, like you need to figure out how many days between the end of the year and today, you can actually just subtract the two. So let's put the end of the year. So the end of the year is December 31st, 2014. And let's take a look at what number that is equal to. So equals this number here. So I'm going to change the format of this cell, B12, format number, and format number, and format it as a number here. And if you look at it, it says that December 31st, 2014 is the same thing in the spreadsheet as 42,004. So this means that if you do math on a date, that it will think of days as being, every day is equal to 1. So if I go equals December 31st minus September 22nd, it will give you 100 days. So one of the things to think about when you are doing like these dates and stuff in spreadsheets is to understand that different spreadsheets sometimes have different dates that are the first date. So let's look at what the first date of the Google spreadsheet is. So put the number 1, and then I'll type equals 1, that cell. And so let's figure out what 1 is equal to. So I'll go to format, and I go to number, and I'll format as a date. And if you look, the number 1 in a Google spreadsheet is equal to December 31st, 1899. So if I change it to 2, so the number 2 in a Google spreadsheet is equal to January 1st, 1900. So one of the funny things is when Microsoft Excel on a Macintosh stores numbers differently than Microsoft Excel on Windows. And I think it actually is different in a Google spreadsheet. So sometimes if you get data from somebody who's using a Windows computer and you're using a Macintosh computer and you're using Microsoft, sometimes the dates can get messed up. So just to be very careful that the years are correct, or that the dates are correct when you're reading in a spreadsheet that you're getting from somebody else. Usually it works, it automatically converts it correctly, but it's a good thing to double check it. Was that better this time?
我们自己操作一下好不好？给你们几分钟，好不好？The student needs some time to practice on their computer. Okay?
Okay.
所以大家试着自己练一下好吗？
Well, let's do this. Let's figure out how many days. So let's do an exercise. How many days are between the beginning of the year and today? So let's see. One of you guys try that first. So calculate how many days between today from January, from the beginning of this year.
Do you have the answers?
Okay. Let's see. So why don't we do it together? Why don't we do it here? And what I'll do first is I'll put January 1st, 2014, and then I'm going to put today's date, September 22nd, 2014, and then I'm going to type in the next cell over equals today minus January 1st. And I got 264. Did anyone else get 264?
Yes.
Very good, very good. Okay, so this now the same thing. So time, like dates in the spreadsheet are just numbers, and every day is equal to 1. So you want to think about like what happens if you have times in your data. So you want you have a class that is starting on September 22nd, 2014 I'm sorry. Actually, I'm sorry, you guys are already in the 23rd, so I forgot. 2014 at 9 a.m. And the class goes until September 23rd, 2014 at 12 o'clock. So if I go equals this minus this, I get 0.125. So who's going to tell me what the 0.125 means?
Anyone could answer?
What does 0.125 mean? Yeah, it's good. So let's see if that works. So if you take 0.125 and multiply it by 24, then you get 3 hours. So it's just a fraction. If 1 in the spreadsheet is equal to 1 day, then 0.125 would be the fraction of 1 day. So if I want to figure out how many hours 0.125 is, I take 0.125 times 24, and then it shows you those 3 hours. So this is very useful to understand that dates and times are just numbers in the spreadsheet. Very good. So the dates and times. All right, so let's go back. Let's go into number 4 now, filtering. So filtering is a really useful way of just helping you to look at your data quickly. So let's go back to our spreadsheet. And if you just want to imagine that you have a lot of data, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this data here, I'm just going to paste it down repeatedly, just so it's really far down. So now I got a lot of data here, like 41 rows of data. And if I click anywhere in this table, and then I go over to, there's a symbol here called filter, and click on the filter symbol. Now if you notice, when I do that, now I have these little blue buttons next to each of the column headings, and this will allow me now to make the table make sort of database selections of the table. So one thing I want to look at all this. I just want to look at all the presidential elections. So if I click on this little triangle and go and turn off all the check marks except for president, then it will only show me the presidential rows. Or if I want to look at just the ones that are legislative 1 rows, I'll click on OK, and it shows me only those. And then if I want to reset and show all of them again, just go to select all and click OK. and now I'm seeing everything again. So you guys should go ahead and just try it, and try it out for yourselves. You can copy the data from the, this. In case you can't get this link, I'm going to put the link into, I'm going to add a new sheet. I call it links. And so here's where I'll put the links. So if you want to go to this link, it will take you to this, this page where you can copy that data into your own Google spreadsheet, and then you can just try this out. So another thing that you can do when you're sorting it, I want to look at the elections sorted by the number of votes. So you can see how, which votes were the most. So if I click on the triangle next to votes, I can go sort. In this case, I want to do the largest to the smallest. So go to Z to A. And if you look, it goes from the largest votes to the smallest votes. Did it work? Yeah. Yes, that worked. So let me fix this table again because I'm gonna mess it up. Let's do this. I'll go back to my table, original website. I'm gonna just copy the data again into the back end. Paste. Okay. So one of the things I'd like to see is what were the elections in Taiwan with the highest turnout? So I can try to look for it, but the best way to do it is actually to sort the column by turnout. So I'm going to go to the turnout column, click on the little triangle, and sort from the largest to the smallest. And I can see that the presidential election in 2000 had the largest turnout with 83% turnout. And the worst turnout was the referendum in 2008 that had only 36% turnout. So, filtering, using this, using that little filter button. I don't know why. Oh. Hey, Caroline? Did I do you now? Hello? Hey, Caroline, you there?
Yeah, we are here, but we couldn't see you.
Oh, you lost me for a second? Okay. Now, let me hang up the Skype.
Please wait for a moment to make the screen normal. Okay. It's no problem now. Okay. Archie, could you see us?
他把它关掉，因为他要分享。他自己把我们关掉。
没有，他在等我们哦。
可以啊。
Archie.
Yeah.
We are waiting for you.
Oh, sorry, I was thought you were. Sorry. Okay, so can you see my screen still, or
No.
Okay. 1 second, please. Start. How about now? Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So just to go back to the filtering. So why don't you take? Have you been trying the filtering as I was going along, or do you want to take a minute to try it yourself?
Okay. 我们大家试做一下，拿
Okay. So if you go to the bottom of the spreadsheet, there are different tabs for the worksheet. So if you go to the links worksheet, there's a link here in cell A1 where you can go to this election guide's website, and you can try selecting all this data here, copy, then going back and opening up just a new spreadsheet for yourself and pasting that in. And then once you paste it in, then you can try using the filter button here. Okay, why don't you try it for a minute, and then let me know if you're able to filter it. And then why don't this time, why don't you tell me which election had the most registered voters and which one had the least?
Okay, so you have the answer already?
Oh,
Okay.
What is the
Please
answer?
straight directly to Archie.
okay. So I will, let's see, I'm going to try to do it myself, and let's see if we get the same answer. So I'm going to sort the registered voters from largest to smallest. So sort of Z to A. So it looks like the election that I have for the largest was the 2012 Legislative Yuan election. That was 18 million registered voters. Did you guys get the same answer?
Yes.
Oh, good. And then the one I have having the least was the 2010 Legislative Yuan election that only had 618,000 votes. You guys get that?
Yep.
Yes.
Good, okay. So that's filtering. So let's go to relative and absolute references. Okay. So
自己 copy 自己贴上去再来一次吗 ？Okay, sorry. Just make sure.
I'm going to add a new sheet. I'm going to start with a blank sheet. So now I'm in sheet 4. Let's call this relative and absolute references. Okay. So let's just make some. I want to go grab some more data from somewhere. So I'm going back to my Google results for Taiwan election results, and I want to look at the Republic of China municipal elections 2014 wiki. So when I go in here, there's a table in here that has, for the municipal elections, how many seats are, the total number of seats for each region or city or county in Taiwan. I'm going to take this whole table here. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet and paste in. Oh, okay, so if you look, when I paste it in, see how it all smushed into one cell here? That means I didn't quite select the table correctly on the web page. I'm going to undo that and go back to the web page and try making the selection again, just kind of selecting a little bit above the table and then going down a little bit below the table. Yeah. And I copy that and see if I can paste it in this time. Paste. So if you look now when I pasted it in, it came in correctly. So sometimes when you're pasting stuff from web pages, it doesn't come in correctly. It's because you didn't quite select the whole table. So the key is like making sure you get the whole table in your selection before you paste it in. Okay, so like it's a little bit difficult to read because it's like longer. The table's longer than my screen and also wider than my screen. So I'm going to. The first thing I'm going to do is I want to get rid of the first row. So I'm going to, by right click or control click on the row 1, I'm going to delete that row. And then I'm going to, because one of the things that you should try to do is let me undo that real quick. So if you look, right now the header for this table is split over 2 rows. And it's often you will find it's nice to format things with multiple rows at the top. But when you begin to do stuff more like linking your data with the web, with web data sets, and you're creating like different data files, it's actually it becomes a problem to have like multiple rows for the header. So you want to try to get your header row to be just one column, like one row. So I'm just get rid of the first row and delete it, and then just close county. Now it's going to rename, and all these blank columns, I'm just going to delete all of them here by select. So I'm going to just click on column B and select all the way through here and delete these columns, and then rename. So on my first row, I want every column to have its own unique header. So here I'll call seats and county. Okay. So now I have a nice long table of county and seats. So one thing I want to do is I want to freeze my columns. So I'll freeze my rows. So I'm going to go here. So I'm going to go to View, Freeze Rows. Oops. View, Freeze Rows, Freeze one row. So now when I scroll through, it will keep my header row in there. And I also want to freeze this first column because I always want to see this first county name column. So go to View, Freeze Columns, Freeze one column. Okay. So one of the things I like to do when I'm working with a spreadsheet is to see the top left corner of the spreadsheet and the bottom right corner. So now I've scrolled it down so I can see A1 and the bottom left corner. So one of the things I want to do is I want to see, of all the possible seats that are up for election, how many seats or what the percentage of seats in each of these counties. So one of the ways that I can calculate this is I can say, so percent of total seats. And I'll type equals, and then I'll click on this cell, and then I'll say, I want to divide that by, and the total seats is down here, and hit return. Actually, you know, so it's 355, the total number of seats, right? Mm-hmm. So let's actually just put in 355, so 355. So B equals B2 divided by 355. So this is like, I want to have this show as a percentage. So I'm going to format this cell with a number, percent, and now it's showing the percentage. So let's copy this formula all the way down to the bottom. And so in Excel and in Google, there's a little square here. If I double click on that, it usually copies it all the way down to the bottom of the spreadsheet. So if you look, now I have this formula copied all the way down. So let's look at how the formula looks. So look over here in the formula bar, and as I arrow down to each cell, look what happened, how I have a cell formula copied. So in the first, in C2, the formula says B2 divided by 355. And then I go down to the next formula in C3, the formula says B3 divided by 355. And then if I go to the next one, it's B4 divided by 355. So the convenient thing about spreadsheets is that as you copy a formula to the cells, it kind of figures out like that you want to not use this cell every time for your formula, but you want to use the one next to the formula. So you want, like, for the type A percent of total seats, I want to use a type A seats. And for the new type A percent of total seats, I want to use the new type A seats. And for the Taoyuan percentage of total seats, I want the Taoyuan seats. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. So when I copy this formula, I select this. Let me just clear this out again. So when I take this formula, B2 divided by 355, I click on the cell and copy it, and then I paste it here. Paste. When I paste it there, it's correctly adjusting the formula as I go down, so that it's always taking the cell next to it. And so this, when you use this type of formula, it's called using relative addresses. So when you say, when I'm writing this formula and it says B2 divided by 355, the spreadsheet is actually not thinking of it as B2, it's thinking about it as one cell to the left divided by 355. So it's always going one cell to the left, and then 355 here. So this one is one cell to the left divided by 355. So let's say that I actually, what I want to do is always, like, I don't want to, let's say that, for example, that I don't know what the, I want to actually use this total number at the bottom. Instead of typing in 355, because that number, for some reason, might change for some reason, you need to have it to be something, a cell in the spreadsheet. I want it to refer to this cell here. Oops. So let's go in here, and instead, let me just do this now. So I'm going to do the same formula here. Percent of total seats, version 2. And I'm going to type equals, and this time instead of using typing in 355, I want to use the 355 here at the bottom of the table. So I'm going to type in B12 divided by this number. So B2 divided by B23. And I'm going to format that as a percent. Number percent. So this looks good. B2 divided by B23. So let's copy this formula and paste it down in the next couple of cells. So edit and then paste. So if you look, so we got an error. So let's look at what was it? It says B3 divided by B24. Huh. So and then this formula above was B2 divided by B23. So do you see what it's doing? It's taking that bottom number and moving it down one cell. So it was actually taking the cell underneath, and if I go to this number here, B4 divided by B25. And if I go to this one, it says B5 divided by B26. So I don't want that to happen. I want it to always stick on B23. So how do I get to stick? Well, the way you change a cell reference in a formula from a relative reference to an absolute reference is you add dollar signs in front of the cell reference. So to make it easy, I'm going to just put dollar signs in front of both the B and the 23. Okay? And now, when I copy this formula down, you can see it calculates numbers correctly. So let's take a look at the formula. So this one is B2 divided by B23. The next one is B3 divided by B23. The next one is B4 divided by B23, and so on. B5 divided by B23, B6 divided by B23. So now I can just double click this square and I'll copy the formula all the way down. Okay. So let's try that. Let's try. I think each of you should try that also. Except this time, let's try let's calculate how many how many more seats, like, what's the, like, how many more times the number of seats are compared to Taipei's number of seats. Okay? So let's say the number of times more seats compared with Taipei. So we'll do that here. Number times seats more than Taipei. Okay. So why don't you guys try it, and we'll see if we get the same answer. And just let me know when you guys are ready.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, you guys ready? Okay, let's see. So here's how I would do it. I would type equals, and let's do it in the new typing because it'll be maybe a little less confusing. So equals this divided by this. So the new Taipei is 2.4 times of Taipei seats. And so like, let's take this, so this formula is B3 divided by B2. So if I copy that to the next few cells, B4 divided by B3, not good. And then if I do it here, B5 divided by B4, not good. So I want that second number to always be B2. So I'm going to edit my formula here. I'm going to put dollar signs in front of the D and the 2. So it always stays there. And copy that, paste it to the next few cells. Let's take a look. So Taiwan is 1.08 times the Taipei. Keelung is 0.58 times the Taipei. Yuan County is 1 times the Taipei. Des Moines. Sorry. Sorry about that. And Hsinchu is 0.25 times of Taipei. Another way of checking this, if I copy this to the Taipei row, it shows it as 1. So let's copy the formula all the way down. So is this the same answer that you guys got? Yes. Hey, very good. Okay. And so one thing you should do, so if you look at these numbers are kind of a mess, so let's make this look a little bit nicer. So we'll go to the format, and we'll get all the numbers to have consistent number of decimal places. And another thing I'll show you also is, so the column is really wide, and it doesn't look so great. So I'm going to make the column a little skinnier. If I take this header row, I can also in Excel and in Google, there's a wrap text formatting, and you can wrap the text so that you get this, it keeps your header row in one column, but all the text gets wrapped, so it, doesn't take as much width. Okay. All right, excellent. So. Okay. So we did that. We did that using the. We used that using the putting the dollar signs to make a absolute reference. But another way of doing this would be to give a number, like give a cell a name. So one thing we can do. So let's give the cell the number of seats the total number of seats a name. So I'm going to go click on the cell B23, and I'm going to go into data, then click on named ranges, and then I'm going to click on add a range, and it's referring to this cell here, and I'm going to call it total seats. So when I do that, now I'm going to do this percentage of total seats a third way. So let's put it here. I'm going to insert a column here by right-clicking on the column heading E and insert a column. I'm going to do percent of total seats V3, so the third way of doing this. And so if you remember, we just named that cell total seats. So now I can just type in equals V2 divided by total seats. And let's format this again as a percentage. Percent. And so if I copy that to the next few cells down, you can see it works the same. So it's B3 divided by total seats, B4 divided by total seats, B5 divided by total seats. So naming, using the data named ranges is also similar to making something an absolute reference. And the benefit, like another benefit of it is that your formulas now become easier to read. So if I look at this old formula, that's not so pleasant to look at B2 divided by B23. B3 divided by B23. But if I look at this B2 divided by total seats, it's much easier to read, and it's like it's actually it makes it easier to check your calculations. Okay, so why don't you guys try creating a column E, inserting a column and putting the formula and using a named range. And just let me know when you guys are ready.
大家知道现在要做什么吗？好，然后就是那个column E，怎么样去 create 一个 range？ 那如果做好的话，告诉我们。做好了吗？没关系，看一下图片。那边同学都好了吗？对，伟忠可以帮忙一下，对。Archie, some students successful, but some fail. So could you repeat again?
Yeah, let's just try it one more time. So.
再一次哈。
So let's do it again. Let's try it with the number of times seats one in type A. So let's do this. C2. So I want to calculate the number of times seats more than type A. So I'm gonna name, instead of like always referring to B2 with the dollar signs, I want to refer to B2 with a name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on B2, and I'm going to go to Data, Named Ranges, and then there's a little plus Add a Range button here. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to call this Type A Seats. And click on done. So now I have a range called type A seats that refers to B2 in my spreadsheet. So now I can go here, in my formula, oops, and type, let me do this, sorry. If I go to my column G2 and I type equals, this divided by type A seats. So B2 divided by type A seats. The first one is equal to 1, good. And then if I copy that and paste it into the next few cells down, looks like it's working. So let's copy it all the way down. And also format that whole column. So number, 2 decimal places. Looks like I got the same answer. So, why don't you guys try doing it with the type A seats and see if we can get the same numbers.
So you okay now, huh? Okay. Okay, Archie.
Okay, good. So, you might think, like, why do I want to, like, is it really worth it? It does make it, when your spreadsheet becomes more complicated, you will find that reading your formula as, with names for the cells makes the checking much easier. So it's a good habit to get into.
Okay.
So name range is combination. So sometimes you'll want to prepare something for like you're putting some data into an email or into your report or onto a web page in a certain way, and you want to have it to have the text with a number. So the way that you kind of build text output is you use the ampersand, this and sign. So we're going to go and build a little thing. Let me just do this. Let's shrink all these columns a little bit. Okay. All right. So I want to have a little sentence with each county that says type A has this number of seats. So if I type equals, let's call this thing sentence. Okay. So if I type equals, and I click on an A2, so I'll just get type A, right? But I want to combine that with the words has, right? So what I'll do is like A2 and then I'll use an ampersand. Then I'll type a double quote, space, has, space, and double quote. So now I have type A has. So let's go back to our formula. And I'll type another ampersand and put a little 12, put this B2 in there. And then let's see what it looks like. Type A has 12, looks good. And put an ampersand and then double quote seats. And then end it with that. So now I have like the sentence, type A has 12 seats. If I copy that formula, now it has all these sentences I can copy. So let's just copy that all the way down. Now you have this thing that you can, select it all and copy it into your email or into your report or into your, web page for your code, and you build your sentence. So that's how you build, like you put text and stuff together in Excel. So why don't you think of a funny sentence to make and make it using the ampersand. And actually when we do this, why don't we do type A has, let's make a sentence that will read something like this. Type A has 3.38 percent of all seats. Okay, so let's try to do that. This is a little tricky because it's going to take another trick, but why don't you try to recreate the sentence.
Okay.
Okay, did it work?
好了吗？
Okay.
One more minute.
Okay.
.好的，举手好吗？好，再等一下，你再等一下，可能要麻烦伟忠跟燕恒帮忙一下，没有举手的同学。
想要把只想要把自创接上的话，就是把接在一起。那所以为什么第一个需要？没有，因为它那个是。没有，这个其实是说我把自创接在一起，那现在就是把每个分空白的。对，这个但应该差不多。
那个会放一下吗？
因为我们要是
刚刚出现了是这样。
好。上一张弄成这样，错。
Archie, the results will be numbers, right?
The what?
The results of your question will be.
No, so the result will be sentences like this, but using this format, like using this sentence. It'll be a little trickier. I think we might have to use another little trick to do it, but I want them to just try to get as close as they can to that. I think the thing that this number may actually not appear the way they want, so I'll show you how to do that when we do the example. So, but if you can get the Taipei has and then a number of all seats, that will be good.
Okay.同学要不要阿曲再示范一次 ？Okay.
Okay, so yeah, when we let's try to see what happens.
Sorry, yeah. Please, you know.
So we'll start. So I'll type. I'm going to do right here an I3. I'm going to type equals. Then I'm going to go to A3. Say new type A, and then I want to say space has, and then I want to have the percentage. So I'll just use. You can use this person E3. And of all seats. Whoops. Go to double quotes. Good. So this is what you guys got?
Yeah.
With this big null number? Right, okay. So that's good. You guys did it exactly correct. So So if you look, so this number is here, but if I did not format this if I just formatted this as a number, format number automatic, it would have that same large number. You see, 0.08. So it's showing you that when you see it as a percentage, it's actually, the spreadsheet is only showing you to it as a percentage, but the number itself is still in there, the percentage back. So here's a little extra trick, a little tip that I'll show you today, which is I want this E3 to not be that crazy long number. I want it to be actually formatted. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use a function, which we'll do more functions in the next class, next week. But I'll give you just a little preview. So text is a function, and then I'll say take the E3 text and give it a format of 0.00%, and then close parentheses. So the formula, instead of just having E3, now I have it saying text, open parens, E3, comma, quote, 0.00%, quote, close parens. So all of that. So all of that, when I do that, will translate it into this percentage. So now if I copy that, you'll see that all those numbers will transform into the percentages. So let's copy that to the rest of the cells and then onto the work. So here's how we did it. So instead of E3, I used the text function, which has E3 as the first thing in the parentheses, and then a comma, and then the format for the percentage, which is 0.00%. So you might say, how did Archie know to do the 0.00% to get this percentage formula format? So if you remember when we formatted our percent signs up here, you can kind of see what all the formats are. If you go to number, format number, and then go down to more formats, and then custom number format, and you can see it tells you what that format is. So it's 0.00% sign. So if you see this format 0.0, that's the format that gives me the percent with 2 decimal places and then a percent sign. And I use this text here, 0.00%, as my format here to format this text. All right. So I know that was quite a bit right here at the end, but when you try it out and see. So let's try changing this formula so it only shows no decimal places. Okay, for the next one. So in sentence 3, I want to take this and I want to say type A as 3% of all seats. All right, so let's try that as the last thing we'll do, and then we'll finish up for the day.
Okay.
And so this one would say new type A as 8% of all seats. Okay, so try to get your output to look like sentence 30.
Okay.
just a little hint when you're looking at it. So we did A3 ampersand has ampersand. Then we use this text thing, and then ampersand, and then all cease. If you look at the text thing, it's a little. You can see that we're formatting the text to have 2 decimal places. So it should be pretty easy to get rid of those 2 decimal places if you think about that. This is telling. This instruction here is telling the spreadsheet how to show the numbers.
同学好了吗？有问题的好了。加西 OK 吗？这都 OK 了哈。
Okay.
OK.
You guys want to try? Okay, so let's see how to do it. So let's try we'll go for tower 1. So we'll type equals tower 1 ampersand has ampersand and we'll show as oops. This, but I want text, then the percent. And I'm going to format this one, so this is the tricky part. So instead of 0.00% sign, I want just 0% sign. How many people got that? You guys get that? Oh, good. Very, very good. All seats. Okay. And so now, I copy that formula all the way down. So now I'm just showing just the percent, which is much easier to read, of course. So, okay, very good, guys. Okay, so I think this is a good stopping point for today. I think, and then we'll finish up the rest next week. Is that okay, Caroline?
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Caroline, could you take a picture of the screen? I want to see how big the spreadsheet looks on the screen, if it's readable. So send me a picture when you have a chance of what the screen looks like right now.
You mean take a picture for you?
Yeah, is it easy to see what I'm doing on the screen?
Yes.
Yes. And
Oh,
you know,
okay.
we have made a record of all your teaching.
Oh no.
I have
Okay.
emailed to you, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah. So
okay.
if you need the video tab, just let me know if you want.
Okay, now I just want to. Everything is like you can see the words easily on the screen. Like it's big enough.
Yeah, it's no problem. Yeah, it's right
Okay,
here.
good. Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Right, well,
thank you so much. So
Thank you.
good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good
Bye
night.
bye.
All right, bye-bye. Hey, Caroline, just let me know how it went, and then just let me know if there's a good speed and stuff. So.
Okay. I will
Okay.
email to you and discuss. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Okay,
Bye
bye-bye.
bye. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye. 好，同学们，现在10:25，大家休息一下哦。很辛苦。其实那个英文并不难，但是又要操作又要听，然后第一次可能会有点。休息一下，我们休息15分钟。有些人还没吃早餐，先关掉，谢谢李正。